Andrei, were you going to jump in there?
Yeah, I would love to jump in because, there are situations when you get lucky and you have a CDMO who are enthusiastic and jumps in as, Perry mentioned. But sometimes whenever you go, you do your homework and ask yourself, let's say you have a lab, you have a team, right? You know how to handle your team. Think about the CDMO, right? Like an extra hand across the country, right? It's your lab, right? So treat them exactly how you would treat your people, right? Giving them incentive, carrying and being like a team. But also, when you do your homework, always, as everywhere, ask your question: what could go wrong? We have a scope of work in each stages of this work. What could go wrong? And just have one simple example, right? When we had a work and a contract, and one of the key analysts got sick, and they didn't have a backup, and threw us a timeline way 2 weeks, right? Which is probably not very pleasurable when you have to report to your upper management that the timeline slips. And believe me or not, pharmaceutical industry, in our industry, maybe in your little section, right? You're not the weak link, but overall, timeline slip always. And be prepared to have a backup strategy when everything slips. You have to inbuild a safety margin. That means I can do it in 1 week, let's do it in 4 days, because what if something goes wrong? What if I need to repeat the experiment? And having done that, make sure in your scope of work, where you have to repeat an experiment and it's sort of nobody's fault but their fault, mainly the CDMO's fault, right? Make sure they repeat it without charging you again, which happened to us. Oh, we have to repeat, but it costs you this amount. But okay, that wasn't our fault, right? And then they just wishy-washy it. But if it's not implemented in the scope of work, you have to pay, and the budget will be outside what was previously approved. So you can have different approaches, but always do your homework and ask your question: what could go wrong? And what would you do if this happens?